Let me go check the tag.
Poll is closing. Poll is closed. With 28 approve and 9 opposed, this clearly meets the 2/3 threshold, and the called previous question passes. Therefore, there will now we're going to see if we can voice vote this. All in favor of suspending the rules of debate, please say yes. Yes. All opposed, please say no. No. Poll it is. This also requires a 2/3 vote, and it is posted. A vote yes means that you want to suspend the rules of our Constitution for this organization to possibly receive funding. Vote no means you do not want to suspend the rules of the Constitution for the student organization. Please vote accordingly. You're already running into your time. Yeah, yes. No, there's been a parliamentary inquiry on what we're voting on. This is a vote on suspending the rules, yay or nay. Just on suspending the rules, not on anything other with debate. This, if you vote yes, you want to suspend the rules of the Constitution, aka, like, it's okay for dues, or it's not okay for dues. It's okay for Studex's decision. It's not okay. Yes, the poll is posted.
Jayhawk Wi-Fi is being spotty, which is what the union's attached to. So that's where it's.
Okay, that poll is closing. That poll is closed. That poll is closed. Please turn your attention to your presiding officer. With a result of 14 approved, 19 opposed, this motion fails, and the rules are not suspended. So we're now back on to the main question of the bill itself. Yes, Ivana. Yeah, we'll do that. There's been a yes, Lane.
Can we pass this bill?
No. I think we need information to see if that's possible. Motion to dismiss.
It no. Oh, hold on. Excuse me, guys. Please wait to be. Let me think about that for a second. Lane, yes. I'm sorry. Rome.
Hey.
Oh, that's.
I want to make a motion to postpone indefinitely.
Okay. There's. Hold on. There. Definitely. Okay. Unfortunately, for those wishing for the debate, postpone indefinitely also takes precedent over debate with this. So there's a motion to postpone indefinitely from Rome. There's a second from Ugo. Sorry, that's not how it works. There's a second from Ugo. I can obviously see that we do not have unanimous consent on this. And so therefore, let's wait. Can we at least let the presiding officer finish their sentence first? But yes, Lane, what is your point of parliamentary inquiry?
Is the bill not dead already?
We don't have a judicial. Yeah. Okay, guys, there's been questions on the proper way to dispose of legislation. Legislation can be disposed of in two ways. It can be disposed of by voting it down, or it can be disposed of postponing it to a different time. There's no or the meeting could be adjourned and then it rolls over into the next meeting.
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
So it is in order to postpone indefinitely, and frankly, this is like the exact purpose of what this motion is for. What is your point of parliamentary inquiry? I mean, Victoria, do you have a point of parliamentary inquiry? Yeah, what's your point of order, Victoria? That's all right.
Didn't the motion to extend time occur before the?
Unfortunately, this motion does take precedent over extending time. I think I would also just recognize I'd rather recognize the club to just be able to talk on this for a second. Yes, Lane.
So, what happens if this bill passes? Can we give them money?
I'm not thinking about that right now, frankly. I'm thinking about what the parliamentary process is for this. That is not policy, but we do have to, guys, I'm coming at this purely from the parliamentary angle of we have to dispose of this legislation. So I'm not going to entertain that hypothetical right now, but that's a no. Pretty sure not.
Okay, so we can't.
But we do have to
can't
dispose of this in
pass
some way.
or-
The body could vote to, but it wouldn't make sense. No. Excuse me. First, let's wait to be recognized. Second, there's already a motion that was seconded on whether to postpone this indefinitely. I'm paused because I'm trying to make sure that is debatable or yes. Wait, I'm sorry. Let me confirm. I'm sorry I don't have this better memorized. Yeah. This is a debatable motion that can go into the main question. Therefore, Rome, would you like to come up and give a brief speech on postponing this indefinitely? And you can talk about the bill itself. To be clear, there's some funky parliamentary stuff you could do to reconsider, but as is, this or failing the bill is or we could table it for this meeting, but we still have to get to it eventually, is the only proper way to dispose of it. Go ahead. Please turn your attention to Rome.
Hey everybody. All I just want to say is that with Simra, I also serve with her in Student Rights and Affairs Council. We have already struck this bill down before for the same exact reason. It is unconstitutional, and we've already voted to not suspend the rules because that would set a dangerous precedent. We literally cannot pass this bill. It is unconstitutional. It is not allowed, set up by the rules that we, the Student Senate ourselves, has made. We need to postpone this bill because this is one of the easiest and simplest ways that we could be able to dispose this bill properly. I do feel sorry for the organization and I do feel my sympathies for them, but unfortunately it is unconstitutional and we must follow through under this precedent. That is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Rome. Questions for Rome? Yes, Stark.
Hi, thank you. Is the speaker aware that these dues go to the national organization and not the actual chapter? Therefore, these should be distinct.
Questions been asked about dues. Speaker may answer if they choose.
Yes, I was made aware of that at this session.
Further questions for a speaker? Aiden? Yes, Aiden.
Is the speaker also aware the only mention of dues within their constitution does not clarify if the dues are required or optional?
Questions been asked about dues again. You may answer if you want.
No, I was not aware of that, I believe.
Seeing no further questions for speaker, thank you very much. Rome. Thumbs down for opposition speeches to postponing indefinitely. Jeff Brooker.
How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
3 minutes, that's it? Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Please turn your attention to Jeff Brooker, guys.
Okay, I'm going to start this off very simply. I am a current active member of this organization. I have not paid any dues to the chapter at all. I am a member of this GroupMe, so I think there's been some confusion about that. Also, past president about this was something that we discussed, like when the transition of power was going over to the current president. They're not required. I understand that's not really reflected in what's written in their constitution. That was something that I left entirely up to them to kind of draft. It's an unfortunate formulation of the verbiage around it. It's not what's practiced at the organizational level. So my understanding is, based on the practice that this organization works through, it's not unconstitutional. I know that wording is something that we value a lot of here, but I think that if we're going to talk about precedent, the precedent set by this organization is nobody is required to pay dues to be a member, attend events, etc. I yield my time.
Hands for questions for speaker. Where's my pin? Okay, just leave your hands up, please. Eli.
Thank you. At our, I'm the vice chair of Student Rights and Affairs, and at our meeting last week, I believe you were in attendance as well. When we asked the speaker about this question, she said that it was required to be part of the group me and be part of the organization. So I guess why has that changed?
Question's been asked about the requirement of dues.
It hasn't changed. I'm afraid that the speaker is human, or the president is human, and may have misspoken at the time or not understood the question fully.
Yes, CC Hunter.
I'd like to ask the speaker specifically about IPO's constitution, in which I command F and dues are listed 2 different times. The first is saying that IPO hosted events and completed payments of chapter dues, that's $10. Does that not mean that per the constitution, there is a requirement of dues?
Question's been asked about constitutionality. Speaker may answer.
Can I get the question back? Because I'm not sure which constitution we're referring to.
Yeah, you can.
Which constitution are you referring to?
The speaker would like clarification on what constitution the questioner is referring to.
Sure thing. It's specifically about the club's constitution, in which dues is mentioned twice. I was asking about how the requirement of dues is outlined in the constitution, how this does not violate our constitution.
The document that the questioner is referring to is the constitution, aka like the bylaws of the student organization for pharmacy.
May I answer?
Yes, you may answer.
Okay. As I said, I feel like it is a poor use of verbiage. It is not what is practiced by the organization. I understand that conflicts with what is currently in our own constitution for student senate.
Oh, wow. Okay, thanks for stopping. Yes, Ivana Dominic. By how much?
2 minutes.
Oh, I thought you said, sorry, I thought you said 15. There's been a motion to extend time by Ivana Dominic by 2 minutes. There's a second from Eduardo. Do we have unanimous consent to extend time by 2 minutes? Seeing that time is extended for 2 minutes for Jeff Brooker. Please turn your attention to Jeff Brooker.
So
And you may continue answering that question.
okay,
Yes.
to continue answering the question, again, poor verbiage, not what's practiced. If we would rather put more value into words than what is actually applied, then that's up to the body.
I agree. Next in line is Eduardo.
So my question is, it says in the Constitution that you guys have dues for $10. Why haven't you guys changed that since you guys don't practice anymore?
Questions asked about current practice versus bylaws. Let me answer.
In this club's very short history at the School of Pharmacy, dues have never been required. While that is stated in their constitution currently, they are still optional. I understand this is conflicting information. I don't know how better to say it. Nobody is required to pay dues to this organization.
Chair recognizes Ivana.
Is that correct, Speaker? Thank you. I was curious if the speaker could share, is this event open to the public or is it just specifically for pharmacy
questions been asked
students
about
in
the-
this organization? I didn't
Sorry,
finish.
my bad. Questions asked about the openness of the event. Speaker may answer.
Both myself and the president will tell you that anybody at all period can attend this event. It's not just pharmacy.
Victoria Hunter.
I know you can't speak for the whole organization, but if we did approve the funding, would the organization potentially be open to changing that line for it to be optional?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
Is that like a thing? Could we like
The president also nodded her head.
Could we request that, like, hey, cool, we'll give you the money, but could you just like update it? Is that like what about you?
Not. There's been a question asked on if we can recommend to the club that they do their funding, through resolution. Sure. And actually, that is time for questions.
Can we not listen to, like, can we not respond to her point of inquiry about the resolution? Did you say sure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that can be done.
Yeah, you can sit down. Thank you, Jeff Berger.
Okay. Can I move to a mom?
Okay. We have had a positive speech and a negative speech on postponing indefinitely. Therefore, it is. Who has a hand? I can't.
I have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
What is your point of parliamentary inquiry?
When could we make a motion to amend to suggest to the club to change the language of its constitution within the bill to ensure that there's clarity about the fact that they cannot require to be.
Not right now, since we're talking about postponing indefinitely. So in the future, when we're back to the main question, this is a subsidiary motion to amend. Yeah, okay. Casey, is this a question or is this a?
This is a statement.
No. Cece. There's a call to previous question from Cece Hunter on postponing indefinitely. There's a second from Sean Lawson. All in favor of postponing indefinitely, please say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, please say no.
No.
Poll. Poll is posted. A vote yes means that we will be disposing of this legislation. A vote no means that we will go back to debating and examining this question. I don't know, man.
We were talking about it in Abigail's office hours. And they were like, if you want to try that, we'll try it. What do you think it'll be? And so we were talking about it. I didn't expect them to do it. This test. No. We were talking about it. I think, no, Abigail definitely did it. Coincidental? No, I think I actually bought it because it was the same color. Nothing's coincidental. Nothing. Victoria, kill me.
Might not get the feed.
Aren't you all dressed up to the max?
No, I know. I had a very casual meeting at Julia.
Really?
And I didn't want to show up to that dress with that ruined vibe. I was like a family business. But I was like, I don't want to ruin the vibe by showing up too fancy. And I was like, it won't hurt the vibe if I show up. You know? You know what I mean? I don't know if that didn't make sense.
I get it.
Okay, time has been elapsed. Time has been elapsed, and that poll is now closed. I know there's some internet problems, so you can talk to the speaker there. With a result of 15 approved, 10 opposed, this does not meet the 2/3. For postponed indefinitely? Oh, it is. Sorry. My bad. There's been a point of order by the finance chair that is majority vote, and so this legislation is postponed indefinitely and disposed of. So we will now be moving into the next item of our agenda. Bill 2026-308, a resolution asking the University of Kansas to train all university faculty and campus employees on how to administer Narcan. The chair would look the chair would find it favorable if the agenda was, if there was a motion to reorder the agenda to consider time pressing legislation first.
Can we just move to call the previous question on this bill?
No.
Yes, we can. Why not?
Move the previous question. Perhaps we can.
Wait. Can they just give a 10-second presentation?
I guess you can.
Raise your hand.
Yeah, okay. That. Hold on. Wait.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, how long have we been doing this?
It's been
No. The call to previous question is not in order because we haven't had a presentation or opposition speech. Is there any raise hands? Hey, lower your order. Only raise your hand if you have an opposition speech to this legislation. That's not an opposition speech. That's what we're asking here. Okay, seeing no opposition speeches, what is your point of parliamentary inquiry?
My parliamentary inquiry is about quorum. What is the requirement of senators present that we need in order to maintain
Quorum is
quorum?
1/3, 26. 29. Really? It was 26. Okay, 29 people. We need it through a final vote through Teams, but I'm going to be taking that as do we have unanimous consent for this resolution? And so, yeah. You're calling quorum. So there's a call from quorum from CC Hunter. We will now conduct roll call. Yeah. Order! There will be order in this chamber. There's been a call to quorum, which requires a second, by the way. There's a second from Fisher and Pharmacy on a call to quorum. To expedite this process, call to quorum, we are going to be throwing out a poll on the voting channel. Please open your teams and vote on this. We have some very important business to discuss tonight. It would be a shame if we could not be quorum. Excuse me, the presiding officer is speaking currently. Additionally, there's a couple options we can do if we don't have quorum. We can either adjourn, we can if quorum is not met, there's only 3 things you can do. You can talk about things like officer reports and just talk about things. You can debate whatever all we want. You can schedule the next meeting and you can adjourn. And that's basically it. Because quorum is called. However, in this meantime, it is permissible in Robert's rules. Call your friends who are in the bathroom. Get them to show up. I'm not being impartial. I want quorum. I'm just telling you what your rights are so you can exercise that. I lied about the impartial part. But you are allowed to do that. Please fill out this poll that is currently in the voting channel. This poll is currently in the voting channel. If you have a problem with the teams, come up and tell the Internal Affairs Director that you are present.
Can I start us off with speech whenever we need time for
Assembly.
I was going to motion to reconsider.
And I still.
Those are the 2 options.
How are you feeling?
If we do not have quorum, there's been parliamentary inquiry on what we can do if we don't have quorum. There will be order in this chamber. Excuse me. There will be order in this chamber. Currently, we're seeing if we have quorum. There's been a call to quorum. If we do not have quorum, there are only a few things in order, such as motioning to adjourn, which is debatable. Oh, sweet. Okay. We have at least 34 members present, so we do have a quorum. Wait, we postponed that bill indefinitely. Yes, we're on this next bill. It seems that we have unanimous consent to pass I know it has to be a poll. 2026-308. So there's going to be a poll posted to pass because we have to do it through a Microsoft poll as the final vote to pass resolution 2026-308. I would also entertain any motions to combine legislation later after we do this vote. So we're not voting. We are not voting on Bill 2026-308 since there's no debate on it. Please fill that poll out. You have 90 seconds.
Is it two things on this? Okay.
Let's drag.
But actually, kind of.
Can you mess with it? You go.
Yeah. Let me see if I can. Yeah. Let's see if I can do it.
I'm very sympathetic to that argument that not suspending the rules is supposed to stop legislation, but other people are not. So let's put a pin in that one for advice.
Who's having fun?
I'm having so much fun. Chris, are you having fun?
Serious.
What else can you do with it? Pass it. Even if
I think it's a little bit complicated because people were making the argument that it's not unconstitutional. So if we weren't to consider that part, I think that it could
Almost.
pass and not be killed.
If a group is told something, obviously.
Okay. I'm good. All right, let me make
All right,
this
please turn your attention to the fee chair for their presentation.
Okay, thank you all for being here tonight. I want to start out by thanking our fee review committee for coming together on very short notice to develop a new fee package. It was really hard. We barely had the amount of people we needed, but we were able to meet again and able to construct what I believe is now a much better fee package. I also want to thank anybody who joined us on the live stream, reached out, spoke with me, gave feedback in any way. That is all very, very much appreciated, and I'm thankful that that has brought us to where we are today. Because the assembly here haven't seen this whole presentation yet, I'm going to go over most every slide that I went over in the first Finance Council. And you can see which ones I chose not to include. If you go to the link on the agenda and it's the ones with the grayed out eye on it, those are the ones I'm not including because we don't really need to go over those ones. But these will still have the majority of the fee entities. Actually, we'll have every fee entity. So quickly, what is the RSF? It's $532.50 paid by every student semesterly. It used to be called the RCF. Remember, these are student funds, not student senate funds. You can see that it's at the very top of this diagram. It goes out into the different fee entities, which are kind of all on that middle row there. And then you can see the student senate activity fee is split up into block, Wednesday night, and then line item funds, which you might be more familiar with. One thing that's important, everything in this presentation will be in fee dollars. That means it's in portions of the $532 instead of the actual amount. One way you can spread that out into the actual amount is you can look at enrollment. And based on enrollment, our estimate for the fee multiplier is every fee dollar is equal to $46,351. That's where you get the over $24 million that the student fee represents. What is the RSF committee? It's 12 voting members, and then me as the chair vote in case of a tie. There's also 3 ex officio and 2 non-voting members. Those numbers are wrong. We convened for more than that. And we had that many hearings and then more than that in terms of deliberations. We had 3 separate deliberations. The first one and then a second one the week later to finish up our resolutions. And then it failed Finance Council. And then we were able to meet again to develop a new fee package based on Finance Council's recommendations. If you're interested, all of that has been recorded and it's available online on the Student Senate YouTube. Now, we conducted a fee survey. Usually this gets around 900 to 1,100 responses. This year we had 2,627. So thank you to everybody who reached out, who filled it out themselves. That is just astounding and a staggering amount of responses. I made a bit of a report here, but I'm not going to go through this for the sake of time. The main takeaways in my eyes were that one, most students still desire lower fees, and two, many students would like for the Safe Ride program to return. And that's mostly evidenced by the very last question. Students had an opportunity to talk about literally anything they wanted, just additional feedback, comments, and many of them chose to talk about Safe Ride. So if you look through that, you can kind of browse through the results. It's got questions about like what campus do you attend classes at? What services have you used in the past year? What's most important to you? Things like that. So it's got some very insightful results. There are a few problems with it, and most of those are listed out there. But we're going to be working on a more finalized and formal report in the future. Now, here are Finance Council's recommendations that they provided us when the fee package failed the first time. I'm not going to read all of these, but we were able to meet the vast majority of these recommendations. It primarily concerned decreasing the student union building fee by less, increasing Safe Ride by less, giving $1 from CAPS to student support and case management, reconsidering entities that were cut, and then this fifth one is about some of the controversy and discussion that happened regarding the fee review process and making sure that things are more public and out there and that discussions are had in an open forum. Now, here are where we at in terms of the total fee. So this year, there were $545.65 of asks for increases. What we chose to do was to allocate a flat fee of $532.50. That is in accordance with the Finance Council's recommendation and guidance from our advisors. It's actually still unclear whether tuition and fees will even be able to increase this year. So any fee increase comes with the risk that the package will be modified without any student input by administration or the Board of Regents, just somewhere higher up the chain. The larger we increase over a flat amount, the larger that risk. So the committee chose to keep fees flat to prioritize affordability for students and to minimize that risk. That led to some very difficult choices this year, but I do believe that this new package is the result of careful discussion and deliberation surrounding all of those choices. So before we get into our first slide for a fee entity here, I want to explain how to read this slide. So you can see what this group's ask was at the very top. Their ask was for $1,550, which is $4.50 less than in the last fiscal year. We're in fiscal year 27. Last fiscal year, we're in fiscal year 26. We're allocating for fiscal year 27. So last year we were allocating for fiscal year 26. This year the student center activity fee is $20. So then next year, fiscal year 27, they asked for $4.50 less than that. We gave them $3.50 less than that. One thing that's not shown here, there were scenario A and scenario B asks that were provided to the fee review committee. This was actually one of the the scenario B ask for Student Senate. So even though it shows that it doesn't line up with the ask there, this was another one of their asks. And then I'm kind of going to go into the reasoning and then some of the resolutions here. But the main thing here is we're no longer paying off our deficit for the Student Senate activity fee. We had room for a decrease, and you can see that that's broken up into block, line, Wednesday night fund. At the moment, there's around $1.1 million in requests for block. That's around $100,000 more than last year. That is expected, but it's still going to require careful planning on the part of our treasurer and block committee. We also have a resolution pertaining to student support and case management, which I'm going to provide more detail on later. The treasurer will decide what the best allocation for the activity fee is, and that will likely include a block increase rather than the decrease that's shown on the table here. The numbers on this slide are not exact because this was before some of the choices made in fee review. This is what was presented to the fee review committee. So the treasurer will work to find the best allocation of funds given our financial reality. So yeah, just final clarification, you've got the ask there, and then in the red box, it'll be red if it's a decrease, and that's the change from fiscal year 26, which we're currently in, into fiscal year 27, which this is the proposal for. The Community Development Fund provides dedicated support for student organizations and events that promote community engagement and intercultural education. They asked for and were granted a 25-cent decrease. That's because the fund has seen significantly less activity than in previous years, likely from a lack of student organization awareness and the rebrand. There's currently more than 30,000 unallocated. That's out of date now. But when it was presented, there was 30,000 unallocated out of 46,000 in revenue. So the 25-cent decrease would reduce revenue by around 10K. The education opportunity fee provides funds for scholarships, grants, public service salaries, and student service salaries. It's allocated by Student Senate through the EOF board, and they asked for and were granted a flat ask in order to continue to be able to provide these funds. Watkins is the health center for KU students next to CapFed and the Ambler Rec. I was there today. The fee covers office visits with a medical provider, which are provided at no cost and no copay. It also allows for reduced fees for services such as labs, x-rays, and pharmacy items. It also supports their Health Education Resource Office, or HERO. They asked for either a $4 increase or a $2 increase this year. Remember the scenario A, scenario B asks. They were granted their larger ask of $4. They've not requested an increase over the last 4 years, and without this increase, they'd either have to raise their prices or reduce their services. Next is Counseling and Psychological Services, or CAPS. It was created in 1991 and provides mental health services and resources to students. This year they had two asks, $3 and $4.30. $3 would allow them to account for ongoing expenses and avoid reducing service or staffing, while $4.30 would allow them to improve services. The committee originally landed in between with a $4 increase, but per that recommendation from the Finance Council that I mentioned earlier, this was changed to a $3 increase, falling in line with their lower ask, and that should still allow them to maintain a current level of service. Next, the Hilltop Child Development Center provides childcare and education for the children of KU students, faculty, staff, and the broader Lawrence community. They have grown from 3 classrooms of 50 children to 2 licensed sites with a capacity of 450. Student fees account for around 3% of Hilltop's annual revenue, and it allows for Hilltop to offset costs associated with KU student employee salaries at Hilltop, tuition reduction for KU students, and maintenance. Committee members were primarily concerned with an investigation by the state into the Child Development Center this year. Although the center brought in new leadership who've improved training and licensing standards, the committee members originally decided to cut this fee down to 0. But following a recommendation from the Finance Council, the committee decided to give Hilltop a fee of 70 cents and hopefully leave the path open for a return of funding in future years. Committee members cited the small portion of their overall budget we support and decrease enrollment. By the way, guys, if you want to see all of these, if you don't want to go slide by slide and see what the amounts are, you can pull up the bill that's on the agenda, and that has all of the fees listed there if you want to see them all in one spot. So on this slide, I actually combined several building and maintenance fees. These are typically held flat or face small changes over a large time span. This year, all of them were granted their flat ask. I did want to provide some background on the Burge Union fee. It was established to fund the construction of the Burge Union per the Memorandum of Understanding between the University of Kansas Memorial Corporation and the Student Senate. It was signed, that MOU was signed in 2015, and it designated an $18.40 fee to fund the construction of the Burge Union through fiscal year 48. And I've been told that is financing supported by Student Senate, so that number can't change. Concerns were raised during deliberations that the Kansas Memorial Corporation was in violation of several aspects of that MOU, so a resolution was passed to initiate a review and pursue renegotiating that memorandum. So that leads us to the Student Union building fee. That's also paid to the Kansas Memorial Corporation. They're a 501c3 nonprofit affiliate of KU. They operate the Kansas Union, Burge Union, and DeBruce Center. It also includes campus dining and bookstore operations across 26 different locations. Student fees provide around 7% of the union's revenue, and they requested a flat fee of $71.90 this year. Student fees primarily support student-facing aspects of the union like SUA, KJHK, and then an operations and renovations fund for the union. This year, the committee originally voted to decrease their fee by $8.50. Discussion centered on a low number of student room reservations and a lack of prioritization of students, and also the previously mentioned memorandum, along with a small proportion of their total revenue that we fund. After reconvening, the committee chose to decrease by $6.50 instead. It's still likely this cut will affect student services, whether that comes out of KJHK, SUA, or future maintenance issues. It will definitely mean no further renovations like what's going on out in the 4th floor. Next is the University Daily Kansan, or the UDK. They provide independent journalism about the KU and Lawrence community. They inform and engage students and play a big part in traditions like print newspapers at basketball games. This year, they requested a $1.50 increase. Last year, they received a cut down to $1.50 from a fee of $3.64 in fiscal year 25. In order to preserve their student wages, they chose to draw down on their reserves this year, but that was only sustainable for this 1 year. Their budget covers around 15 paid staff. This year, it was decided to cut their fee down to $0. Discussion was focused on trying to find the best home for the UDK. Concerns were raised regarding continued support for them through the student fee. Committee members believe that the UDK, with its smaller overhead costs and independent nature, would be better served through other funding sources such as Block. They've applied for Block funding, and the committee passed a resolution to this effect, which you can see that first resolution. And then a resolution was also passed to mirror the one for the Kansas Memorial Corporation, for them to remain open to good faith discussions with the Kansas Union concerning the potential integration of services, resources, or administrative functions. And then I didn't go over this earlier, but yeah, you can see the resolutions for the student union building fee were to take all reasonable measures to prevent reductions to student-facing services, namely KJHK and SUA, and then to explore the feasibility of absorbing the UDK under its operational structure. Now, I'm sure you all know about or have visited the Ambler Recreation Center. It was funded by student fees since it opened in 2003 and was expanded with a $6.3 million 45 square foot addition in 2008. This year, the bond, which paid for that addition, is sunsetting, meaning students no longer have to pay $11.55 each semester to pay off that debt. That leads us into the other recreation fees. So while the expansion bond is sunsetting, the rec still has two other fees. They were granted a $5.05 increase split between their operations and maintenance, bringing them to a total of $66.85. Compared to the Big 12, we're near the bottom in terms of fees dedicated to our recreation center, and then we are at the bottom in terms of indoor square footage. That increase is going to allow them to proceed as planned with a small renovation, expand student-facing programs, replace old equipment, and then work towards addressing $9.7 million of expected maintenance in the coming decades. They're still likely going to need increases in the future to close this gap, so an increase now could help offset those asks. Originally, we granted their full ask of $6, but this increase took a small haircut in order to continue supporting other programs. The Edwards campus was granted their flat ask of $11. For those who were not here for last year's fee presentation, I'll provide a little background. To better align the campus fee structure between the Lawrence and Edwards campuses, the RCF was changed to the RSF, and the fee structure for the Lawrence and Edwards campuses was aligned starting in fiscal year 25. This led to slight changes in all fee amounts as the pool of students expanded and the addition of this $11 fee. Keeping it flat will allow for the Edwards campus to continue to staff student employees at their Welcome Center, support student clubs and events, and work to align services across campuses. Next, the Sexual Assault Prevention and Education Center, or SAPEC, promotes social change and the elimination of sexual violence through prevention education, inclusive programming, and campus-wide collaboration. Here's one of their great stickers as an example of the kind of educational materials they put out. One thing I'd like to emphasize, they have impeccable stewardship over student fees. They diversify their revenue sources through grant applications and endowment, meaning we're only at around 22% of their total funding. In fact, they're one of the only student fees that have asked for a decrease in fees when they feel like they have enough. Originally, their full ask was granted because of this, but for a similar reason to the rec, the size of their increase was decreased to leave room for other groups. That does mean they're likely going to require another increase in future years. This fee, the campus transportation fee, provides for on-campus and off-campus KU bus routes, along with several routes coordinated with Lawrence Transit. They asked for and were granted a flat operations fee, and staff will review service levels across all the routes to identify where additional hours can be added to improve frequency. Their ask for bus procurement was also granted, which will allow them to continue their current procurement schedule of 2 buses per year and 3 buses every third year. Originally, a larger increase was granted to begin replacing old Safe Ride vehicles, but these vehicles will still be operational for several more years. So when the fee review committee reconvened, we chose to just go with their flat. They had 2 scenario asks. We went with their smaller scenario. So we had more room, taking a haircut as we did with other groups. Moving on to Safe Ride. Similarly, they had 2 scenarios, a $7.30 increase and then a $12.55 increase. The purpose of this program is to provide students safe transport home in the evening with no questions asked. Due to decreases last year, the program was not able to operate throughout this school year, except for the safe bus service operating until 1 a.m. Monday through Thursday. A $7.30 increase would be enough to start Safe Ride back up at 70% of its previous capacity, and then the Transit Commission would decide how those service hours would be allocated. The other scenario was a $12.55 increase to restore 100% of service. The committee landed in between with a $10.75 increase. Legal Services for Students, or LSS, provides confidential, professional legal advice and assistance to students. They operate with no additional fees for their services and refer out for any cases outside of the scope of their practice between their 3 attorneys, admin staff, and 1 to 10 student interns. It was established by Student Senate in 1979 and has been fighting for students' rights for 47 years. Although a smaller group of students are supported per fee dollar here, the students that need these services really need them. In 2025, they provided over $2.8 million in financial benefits and savings to students, and that's far more than the $900,000 students pay into this fee. So for these reasons, we kept the fee flat. Another flat ask was granted with the Student Engagement Center. Last year, the Center for Sexuality and Gender Diversity, the Emily Taylor Center, the Office of Multicultural Affairs, and the Student Involvement and Leadership Center were combined into the Student Engagement Center, which is housed in the Sabatini Multicultural Resource Center, attached to the Union right here. The Student Engagement Center asked for and was granted their flat ask of $13.25. That's going to allow them to continue to support the services provided by these centers, such as the Campus Cupboard, the Pregnant and Parenting Pantry, and support for student leadership and clubs. A resolution was also passed for them to take all reasonable measures to prevent reductions to student-facing services, because they mentioned that any decreases, even though no decrease was chosen here, they mentioned any decreases would likely come at the cost of student-facing services first. This next fee is tied to what I shared about the Student Engagement Center. The Student Program Funding Administration funds the Assistant Director for Student Senate Leadership Development, along with the Student Senate Program Coordinator. Previously, $2.05 was designated for Student Senate administrative support out of the SILK fee, but it was separated out, and these positions were brought under Student Affairs after the center combination that I mentioned with the Student Engagement Center. A $1 increase was required to fully fund the salaries and fringe for these positions. Not having their full support for Student Senate was actually part of the reason we ran a deficit last year. So anytime you hear the word fulfillment thrown around Senate, that definitely involves one or both of these positions that are absolutely vital to our operations. Next, the Campus Environmental Improvement Fee provides support for recycling across a variety of locations. They divert around 18 tons a month from landfills through campus-wide recycling, reducing waste and promoting sustainable practices. This year, they requested a flat fee to support staffing, equipment, and ensuring reliable recycling services. Originally, the committee decided to cut this fee down to $0. Discussion revolved around a perceived inability to increase service capacity, or the desire for the university to fund recycling rather than students, and then issues regarding ongoing service, such as high contamination rates and a lack of service in buildings highly trafficked by students. After reconvening, we were able to actually grant their flat ask, and it was decided that a discussion and removal from the fee in future years was better than preemptively cutting this fee. Because if, as we originally proposed, if it went down to zero, that would likely mean the ceasing recycling operations on campus. Jayhawk Finances provides coaching sessions, workshops, and information regarding financial wellness for students. They save students a lot of money through budgeting, saving, investment advice, along with tips for important payments like cars, homes, and insurance. If they received a cut, they'd be forced to reduce their staff, and the committee chose to keep them flat. Student Support and Case Management provides non-clinical support to students while coaching them towards appropriate self-care and self-advocacy resources. They step in and serve as intermediaries to help students adjust to major stressors or changes in their lives and continue to succeed in college. They've been supported by Student Senate through block funding since at least fiscal year 22, probably longer than that. They were given an opportunity to present for the first time to the Fee Review Committee this year. They submitted a request for a $4 fee, which would cover salaries and an operational budget for a case manager and administrative assistant position, along with a stipend for a student practicum position. As we discussed earlier with CAPS and Student Senate, the committee decided to grant them a small allocation so they could officially join the required student fee, but this is nowhere near the amount they fully require or how much they've historically received from block. This will take some weight off of Block, but it will still require support from Block in order to match how much we provided them. Thus, we passed a resolution saying that the fee allocation should be viewed as a supplement for Block funding and not to disregard their Block request. Last but not least, we have our community supportive services. This fee funds the Burt Nash Community Mental Health Center, Willow Domestic Violence Center, Headquarters Kansas, and the Sexual Trauma and Abuse Care Center. These are all local non-KU organizations who provide support for mental health needs, survivors of domestic and sexual violence, and individuals in crisis within the Lawrence and Douglas community. While they don't only serve students, they do provide services for many members of the KU community, and other Kansas universities provide similar support through their student fees. Last year, funds were only provided to Burt Nash, as the remaining groups did not claim any student fees in fiscal year 24 and were double paid in fiscal year 25 to compensate. Unfortunately, we were not able to hear from the Headquarters Kansas this year, as they didn't respond in time to schedule a hearing. Discussion within the committee focused on a perception of continued fiscal irresponsibility, a lack of transparency, low student impact, and miscommunications between the university and these outside services. The committee decided to continue providing funds to Burt Nash and return Willow, granting them their ask for a 35-cent increase. Okay. Now, I know that was pretty fast at some parts. Y'all didn't leave me with too much time, but we have a lot to discuss here. Please, we do have a good amount of time for questions, so I would much prefer if we asked as many of those questions as possible here. Make sure we're all on the same page before we get to speeches and everything. But yeah, happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Hands high. Yes, clap it up. Hands high for questions and keep them up for a minute, please. All right. You may lower your hands. Got you down. As a reminder that we're going to make sure that everyone else gets a chance to ask a question before you can ask a follow-up. And please, even though we have a lot of time for questions, try to keep your question brief and not give a lot of like presenting stuff into it and make it an actual question and not contributing to debate, or I will call you out for it. First off, Chair recognizes CC Hunter.
Thank you, Nathan, for that speech. I'm sorry you weren't feeling too well. I'd like to ask the speaker, following allegations of misconduct and several resignations from FEE, why the speaker chose to move forward with deliberations without replacing those vacant seats, thus limiting council voice on FEE.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do not have to answer that question because
I'd love to answer this.
But you are free to. It's like it's on the line. Let's keep our questions germane to the merits of the fee package, though. But go ahead.
Sure. I was really wavering here between what to do. The primary reason, it was very confusing. Like I had kind of brought this up. Where did I bring this up? In Finance Council. I forgot where I first brought it up. There's nothing in our Constitution saying what to do here. There's absolutely nothing. There's a section on special elections that doesn't really apply. It doesn't mention anything about the fee review committee. There's nothing about resignations from the fee review committee. We would have to rely on Robert's rules and then kind of a mixture of precedent and things like that. So the procedure is very unclear. The reason we chose not to fill those seats was two reasons. One, we had enough people remaining who were able to show up and who did show up for us to conduct business. So we didn't feel the need to replace those seats when we had the amount required. And the second reason is if new people were elected, they would not have had the privilege of sitting through all of our hearings. They would have missed all of our trainings. They would not have sat through our previous deliberations. So not only would that be a big burden for them to try to catch up, but also that'd be a burden and a disservice to the fee review process for, even though it would, like the speaker said, provide more representation. I don't think that representation would have frankly been too helpful if they hadn't received the proper training like everybody else had.
Chair recognizes Lane Lamping.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Finance Council Chair, I wanted to ask how much block funding has the University Daily Kansan requested compared to their original required student fee funding request?
I'll give you a little spoiler. It's in the Finance Council channel in the block folder. I can't think of it right now.
Chair recognizes Kim McNally. If you have new person, please raise your hands and I'll keep on my list.
Can you clarify for the body what you meant when you mentioned that KU may be unable to raise tuition or fees in case anyone's unclear of that?
Questions been asked about KU's tuition. Speaker may
Yeah.
answer.
So I received guidance from our advisors that the Kansas legislature is considering keeping tuition and fees flat for this year. Whether that's going to happen is still unclear, but at the very least, the Board of Regents is feeling that pressure. So it's very likely that the Board of Regents would look unfavorably upon a fee request. So if like broader tuition is staying flat, it's very likely the Board of Regents would look unfavorably on a big fee increase. So like I said, any increase over flat is just a higher risk that this fee package is going to be taken out of students' hands.
Chair recognizes Ivana Dominic.
Given that previous response, I was curious if the speaker knew or thought it would be possible if our fee package would revert to what we had last year in the case that this does not get approved by the General Assembly.
Questions passed about a flat fee. Speaker may answer.
So there's a couple of different scenarios here, and I don't feel comfortable predicting what would happen here at all. I will say that there is precedent for the Board of Regents passing a flat fee package and just reverting to the last year. I think that happened in like 2021 or something. So yeah, there is precedent for whenever the fee package didn't meet whatever standards, the Board of Regents just rolled back last year's fee package. And to be clear, that would mean no safe ride. That would mean some of the cuts that we made this year would not happen. But yeah, you can just look at fiscal year 26. You can look at the budget book to see what might get rolled back to. But truly, it's more up to whatever administration provides the Board of Regents with.
Okay, Chair recognizes Kendra McNally for a follow-up.
So under the Constitution, there are constitutionally permitted reasons for zeroing out a fee function.
Yes.
Happy to read the 5 of them if you need. What was the justification for reducing the UDK fee to 0?
Questions asked about the constitutional justification for reducing fee to 0. Speaker may answer.
Thank you for asking that question, because I made sure to remind every member of the fee review committee that existed. I'm so sorry. I'll check right now. I don't remember off the top of my head. I know it's in the recording because I asked every single time that a fee was put to 0. So I can try to get that to you later, but I'm gonna have to check the recording, and then maybe someone from the committee just remembers because I know I asked Tanya every single time.
It's also present in the minutes of fee review.
Okay.
If you can look at that, but we can have someone look and try to find that information as well.
The minutes, you can find them. The best place you can find them right now, if you go, is it General Legislative Minutes website, like General and Teams, Legislative Minutes website, required student fee, and then you'll have the minutes from part 1, and then it should be on there. Sorry that I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yes, that is the correct place to find them. And it would be only for the first deliberation or for the second as well?
And we only talked about that in the first deliberation.
So it'd be the February 12th one.
No,
Uh,
it was earlier than that, I thought.
Or
The 6th.
sorry, the 6th, modified on the 12th in the minutes. CC Hunter followed.
In that same breath, I'd like to ask the speaker if they believe there to be any reason for the UDK to not receive its funding under block in the full amount.
To clarify,
Questions
like
asked
their
about UDK funding, speaker may answer.
full block ask. Okay, I can't. I'm so sorry. I cannot make any promises regarding block. I'm the chair of block, as long as I'm feeling healthy enough to do it this Friday. I'm the chair of block, so I'm going to make sure that every block entity gets the same discussion and individualized consideration that they all deserve. But with that, that means I can't make any promises for or against any particular group. I can tell you guys that there's around $1.1 million in asks for a block, and then probably only around 800,000 that we can give out. That's similarly how tight it was last year. So it's not a big concern, but last year was tight. There were a lot of tough decisions that had to be made. So I don't think it's responsible for me to promise anything there. And I'm sorry about that.
Kenna?
I will quickly say though that I think it would be ridiculous for them to be booted off the student fee and then for us to disregard the resolutions and things that had been made regarding them moving to block. And I will make that clear this Friday.
Chair recognizes Kenna McNally.
The RSF deliberations minutes do not identify what constitutional reason was given to zero
Yeah,
out the
that-
EDK.
That's what I'm looking at. No, wait. I'll
defer my, if Tanya knows, I'll defer
okay,
my.
I'm also seeing that. So thank you for bringing that up. Did we cut you off from continuing your question?
It wasn't a question, it was a statement since my question was not
Okay.
answered.
Tanya,
I think it's my unofficial minutes that.
your notes. Okay. Let's keep looking for that. And if not in the minutes, definitely in the video. Someone can get timestamps on that, and let's look for that. Is Cece? Did you have or no, Ivana? No, this is still time for questions for the speaker. This is like separate thing. If you have another question or a follow-up question. Okay, this would be your third question as well. Lane.
She can only ask 2 questions, so I'm going to motion to suspend the rules of debate. Am I wrong?
I think you're just making a blanket statement.
That is correct. Really?
I think that hold on. There's a chair recognizes Kenna McNally for a question. Was it a question though? But is it like formed in a question though? Just it that one.
Guys, there's still a 30-minute presentation after this.
This is framed as a question, I guess. Under Robert's Rules of Orders, questions are not included in the counting of how many times you may speak. Isn't that right, Robert?
That is a great question. That's a great question. That was not my understanding of Robert's rules. I believe last cycle I called someone out of order for that. Well, no one overruled it, and I actually have monopoly on that. If not, so you can make that argument in a second if we do that. Let me pause. Keep the time pause. While we're looking into that though, questions. And even if that's not proper, we're still going to be prioritizing people who have not spoken 3 times for questions. Is there any new people who would like to ask a question?
Ivana, no.
Okay, we'll go to Ivana, who's only asked 1.
Question 2. Given your experience in Student Senate and serving as the chair, how would you say the proceedings and maybe kind of the discussion by the fee review committee were different than that of previous years, if there were any differences?
Okay, there's been a question asked about the consistency of the deliberations. Thank you. The chair may answer.
This is getting too close to a personal opinion, but I wasn't a voting member last year as a proxy for a bit. It was certainly better than last year. Like there was a lot of disagreement. There was a lot of argument this year. Some of that happened in mediums and forums that it shouldn't have happened in. But one thing I'm happy to say is that I still sincerely like everybody on the fee review committee. I still think that, and I hope that there can be a good relationship between everybody. I feel like a lot of people forgot that we're students before we're ever senators, and that maybe caused a little bit more politicking than usual. But unfortunately, some of that's to be expected, and I think that we do still have a strong fee package this year.
Okay. Any further questions for yes, Tanya?
I would like to ask the speaker, just in case, during the first fee deliberations, when any motion to zero out a fee entity was given, those were accepted each and every single time as constitutionally sufficient by the parliamentarian or presiding officer of the fee hearings,
Is
correct?
this a question? Okay. Okay.
Uh,
You may answer.
yeah, you can fact check me with the recording, but I'm pretty sure I remembered to ask every single time. With what our community affairs chair pointed out, Title 5, Article 2, Section 9, Part D, the justification for reducing or zeroing a fee. I'm pretty sure every single time I asked which of those 5 points were met, and then with the vote, and then I didn't rule for or against anything there. But yeah, with the vote, I thought that was sufficient justification for reducing or zeroing a fee.
Great. Pausing time again. There was a point of parliament inquiry made a bit earlier about whether members can ask more than 2 questions. Like if that violates speaking on an item more than twice a day. And after looking at the rules again, another rule that specifically explicitly distinguishes that any form of questions towards speeches are not part of debate. And so that's totally fine. Okay. Cece, yes. We have about 7 minutes left.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the speaker in relation to CDF. With CDF's drop in funding, I was wondering if there were also conversations about ways to make it more accessible, since the argument there was that not enough people go to CDF.
Questions made about CDF funding accessibility. Speaker may answer.
I don't know if I really have an answer for that. I'm sorry. The fund development director and the chair of CDF are the ones who are mostly responsible for that. And the fund development director wasn't able to present the CDF presentation, so I didn't hear any plan articulated for anything like that.
Chair recognizes Jeff Brooker.
I would like to call the previous question.
All right. It's been a call to previous question from Jeff Brooker. There's a second from Zach Limke. Are there any opposing speeches to give on the fee package? Yeah.
Wouldn't it be an opposing speech to the call to previous question, since the call to previous question takes precedent?
Thank you. Yes. There's been a point of parliament inquiry on if it'd be next speeches on the main question itself or calling to previous question. I am asking for both of those things actually, because we can't move on to previous question unless we've as a way to circumvent someone giving a negative speech on legislation. So on either of those matters, is there a negative speech? Yes, Tanya. And I see that there is a negative speech, by the way, on the fee package. What is your point of parliament, Corey? There's been a point of parliamentary inquiry on if there were no negative speeches available, if we could move on to a previous question. That is correct. We do not need to. There's been some confusion on this, so I'm glad this was brought up. We must end on a negative speech if there is one offered from the floor, but I can't compel the body to give a negative speech that they don't have. So hypothetically, if there were 0 negative speeches and there were 2 people who wanted to give a positive speech and no one called to previous question, we could do positive speech and then we could do a back-to-back positive speech. If the first person got up and gave a positive speech and then someone was like, actually, I want to respond to that, I want to give a negative speech, then we would recognize them and we couldn't call to previous question. So if at any time there are no negative speeches, that's how it is. Yes, Jeff, what? You withdraw your, okay. There's been, the seconding of calling to previous question has been withdrawn, so it would still require a second to call the previous question. There is a negative speech on the floor. There's a second on calling to previous question from Eduardo. So we will now debate whether we should close debate on the. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that Tanya made the motion. Okay. It has been informed to me that the person who made the motion to call to previous question has withdrawn their motion. Therefore, we will continue with the time for questions for the fee chair. Shoot, hands for questions. Seeing no questions, thank you very much to the fee share. Are there any negative speeches on the floor for the fee package? Okay, thank you very much, Nathan. You may sit down. Or can I make chair recognizes Kim McNally for a negative speech? All right. No, please go up to the podium. So we will have 5-minute speeches. Keep in mind, this is the start of the debate. That 30-minute speech was the authorship, and so we are now starting debate on that with a negative speech because that's what it is in the Constitution. That we start with an opposing speech. Ready when you are.
Okay, in case we have not met or you haven't figured out my name is Kenna McNally and I'm the chair of the Community Affairs Council. I am also a student in the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. I very much respect and admire and am very grateful to our fee committee for doing all of the work that they have done. And my only opposition to this is that there could not be justification provided to us on why we were reducing the UDK fee to 0 when it was asked. That is really my only objection. And yeah, the UDK is a very important part of our university, and a free press ensures a democracy or helps support a democracy. So I open for questions?
Thank you for that. Keep in mind the remaining time is yours if you want to, keep speaking after you answer a question. Alex. Yeah, this is questions. But okay, chair organizes Nathan for a question. And then
So I wanted to ask, given a speech of negation, you're saying voting no. What do you view as the next steps here? Keeping in mind that it's very unlikely the Fear Review Committee will be able to reconvene, that we might not have time for recommendations here tonight, that we're probably not going to be able to have block deliberations this Friday. And then we only have 2 cycles left for all of that. What do you see as the next steps if people vote no here tonight?
questions to ask about next step. Speaker may answer.
Giving a speech of negation does not necessarily mean that I am encouraging. It means
Please.
that I am questioning.
Hold on. Excuse me. Let me make the rulings here. Yes. Please only keep your talk through the chair. Do not respond to someone giving their question. Yeah, decorum. You may continue answering.
Yes, please don't impugn my motives in giving this speech. As I said, I came up here simply to question why we were not able to give a reasoning when it is constitutionally required to do so. If I had been given that reason, I would not have questioned it. I am here to respect the will of the body, but I would like to know the reasoning since it is constitutionally mandated when reducing or zeroing out a fee.
Chair organizes CC Hunter for a question.
I'd like to ask what the speaker's suggestions are for next steps should the remainder of our Students' Assembly agree with this decision. Is it specifically reconvening to discuss funding for the UDK?
Questions to ask about next steps. Speaker may answer.
I'm not suggesting whether or not any member of this body thinks that we should fund the UDK or not. I personally will not be voting for this because as a member of the School of Journalism, I think that defunding the UDK is harmful. But I believe that otherwise this is a very strong fee package that has gone through a lot of deliberation, hours and hours. And I really...
Chair organizes Adrian Faust.
Why does the speaker not believe block funding is sufficient, considering that they can receive money from that as well?
Questions to ask about block. Speaker may answer.
Block funding is not a promise. Again, I do not think that it is necessarily wrong that the UDK go to block and get the money. All I wanted was to be given the constitutionally mandated answer as to why the UDK was zeroed out.
Chair organizes Alex.
Is the speaker aware that on the recording at or about 8 hours, 2 minutes and 40 seconds, the stated reason was inefficient use of finances?
The speaker may answer.
I would have been if any member of the fee council would have been able to answer my question when it was asked.
Excuse me. Chair recognizes. Oh, Mia. Okay. Chair recognizes Esperanza.
Primarily, thank you very much for your speech. I just would like to know if you are aware that the Student Senate activity fee received a small increase from the original decrease from the original fee package, and that could be a way of funding the UDK and helping increase the funds for the UDK.
You may answer. Questions asked about the Senate activity fee.
It was the choice of the council to keep the fee rate flat, so it's not up to my discretion as to whether or not that decrease should have been used to fund the UDK. We had, I guess, just one after the resignations member of the Community Affairs Council there to debate on our behalf, and I believe that she did a lovely job.
Chair recognizes Ivana Dominic. Briefly, we're out of time.
As a journalism student, I was curious if you could, kind of going back to a previous question, what are your thoughts on the claims by some members of the fee committee that there could be provisions made to provide the UDK with block funding if they were not provided Student Senate fee funding? Is that satisfactory to you as a journalism student and a supporter of the UDK?
Questions asked about block. Speaker may answer briefly.
I have talked to the editor-in-chief and other members of the UDK, and they are overall okay with it, so I'm going to defer to them. Again, my main qualm that I came up here to say was that I was not able to be provided an answer, and it's constitutionally mandated that we provide that to the body. So.
Nice timing. Okay. Thank you to our speaker. Okay. Yes, Victoria Hunter. Yes, there's been a call to previous question on the fee package from Victoria Hunter. There's a second from Eduardo. All in favor of closing debate on the fee package, please say yes. Yes. All opposed, please say no. Great. We have closed debate on the fee package, and a poll is now live for the fee package. You have 2 minutes to vote on the fee package. Please be quiet during this time. Please do not continue debate as we've closed debate on this matter. Please try your best to hold in peeing your pants and not exit the assembly or consider reserve, blah, 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 whatever. If you have an issue with your teams, you can orderly get out of your chair to come up here and tell the IA what your voice vote is. Thank you. Talking, don't do it. What did I say about talking? We're still voting, fellas. Order. Okay, that poll is now closing. Oh my gosh. That poll is now closed with a result of 32 approve and 5 oppose. The fee package passes. 2/3. Next, we move on to our last item of legislation, Bill 2026 71, a bill to revise the student code. And returning your attention to the chair of the rights to give a presentation on this. Yes, Jeff Brooker.
Considering the highly detailed nature of this bill and the limited time remaining, I would like to post a motion to postpone to next cycle.
I object. I cannot make it.
Hold on. There's been a motion to postpone the next cycle.
I can make it in 30 minutes.
There's been an objection to the consideration of the question of postponing it to the next cycle from the chair of rights. Since it was before it was seconded,
Can I state my reasoning?
it's non-debatable, I do believe.
No, my reasoning for objection.
I'm hearing it's debatable. Okay. There's a point of parliamentary what from Lane?
What happens if we hit 10?
Then it's not debatable. There's no motion required. We just adjourn at 10. So
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
yes.
What happens to this bill?
It gets rolled over into the next cycle.
We are wasting time right now.
I'm hearing it's a debatable. I'm hearing it's confirmed that's a debatable motion, and so then we will go into a brief, please, positive speech on why we should postpone the bill indefinitely. Or actually, no. Simra first, because she objected to the consideration of the question. Please, or I'm sorry, to next cycle. Please, briefly state your reasoning for objecting to it.
I can make it in 30 minutes, to which we have all allotted time. I've dedicated time to this, and I physically cannot make it due to health issues. So I'm sorry, this is my last chance.
Thank you. And the clarification on that is that this can not be debate. The debate on this is completely towards the objection. It's not about the nature of the bill itself. Thank you for that. Other discussion on the objection. Is there? Yes.
With respect to the speaker, I was curious, given that we have a fixed adjournment in 28 minutes, do we still think we would have enough time for questions, the presentation, and any speeches for and against, and still give you the amount of time you need?
Yes, if we
Speaker may
dismiss
answer.
whatever this is. It's wasting time. I'm sorry.
Yes, CC.
Who is the second to Mr. Booker's motion?
It's not been seconded yet. It was okay. It was. We're on objecting to consideration of the question to postpone it to next cycle. So that is the new motion. So we're only talking about objecting to it. Well, so yeah, it's about the merits of postponing it, even though it's not been seconded yet. Yes, Lane. We have to allow for an opposition speech to objecting to it. Is there anyone who wants to give an opposition speech to the objection of considering the question for postponing it to next cycle? Yes, Jeff Brooker, come up here. No, just come up here. Hurry. 3 minutes.
I just don't feel that there's enough time for us to digest all the information and make a good informed decision on this.
Thank you. Okay. Great. There's a call to previous question on objecting to it. This is a 2/3. Is there a second on calling to previous question? Yes, second from Ugo. Okay. All in favor of not hearing a motion to postpone to next cycle, say yes. Oh, sorry, that's a double negative. That's confusing. All in favor of closing debate on whether we should object to postponing. So, okay. If we're talking about if we want to close debate on the objection. Does that make sense? Vote yes if you want to stop talking about it. All in favor, vote yes. Yes. All opposed, say no. Great. So this objection is sustained, and we are now going back into the presentation of this legislation.
Wait, what?
Well, yes. What are we not confused about?
On the dismissal
there was a move to call the previous question on debating the objection, which is objection to considering the question of postponement.
Point of order, I think people were wanting to like table this. And I think that's where the miscommunication resulted.
I don't think this point of order is not sustained. Do we have? It's my understanding that our item of business, the primary precedent is we're presenting this legislation. We're still on our authorship speech here. If our author would like to come up and continue their presentation, please. Yes, Zach Lemke, what? Division of the question of objecting? No, there wasn't. Okay, so there's been a motion to divide the question that it was unanimous. It was unanimous. It was no one said no, but okay, he withdraw. Thank you. There's the calling for dividing the question with withdrawn. Please resume your attention to the chair of rights.
This is the revision of the Student Code of Conduct. To which you may ask, what is the Student Code of Conduct? The formal name is a code of student rights and responsibilities to which it outlines your guys' rights as students, the standards of conduct, the responsibilities you guys all have as KU students, and the expected values, and it also includes housing standards. That is the official, what it is on the student website, Student Senate website. So there were some minor changes made to the bill prior to the actual revision process via the subcommittee. That was that it applies to all university students, administration, faculty, and staff. The wording was a bit vague before. And so after speaking to the advisors, they directly reached out to the policy administration and they were able to fix that up, basically clarifying that this policy applies to everybody. And it applies to the Edwards campus as well, because before that wasn't included. As we all know, the One KU initiative kind of made an effort to bridge those two campuses. And so I just wanted it further reflected that this code is for Edwards students as well, to which that was done before the revision process. So I would personally like to thank our advisors, Kevin Wickliffe and Melissa Stewart, for helping us get that done before anything. The next is that there's 9 sections. So the introduction, that is the introduction right there. Very short and simple. It explains the origins of the code, that it was adopted in 1970, that there's a biannual review from their fourth, and the biggest review was done in 1986. Any implementation of the code is subject to approval of the Kansas Board of Regents and the KU Chancellor. My revision asks for the next biggest amendment to this, hence why I think it needs to be done now. So section 1 is just a philosophy of student rights and responsibilities. I have laid all this out, and I highly advise that you guys read it. But essentially, it's that KU is committed to fostering a campus environment conducive to academic inquiry, a productive campus life, and thoughtful study and discourse, and that all members bear responsibility for their conduct. The only minor change made in this is reflected over here of shall to must. This is just a legal thing of making it a bit more affirmative in what is expected of students, so they're not like, oh, I thought I could or couldn't, right? Section 2 is just definitions, to which they provide definitions of all these things, what it means to be a university, student, instructor, organization, student press, weapon, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of these make referrals to other KU policies. There was no change to the section. This is the biggest major change to the code is in section 3 rights, which it enumerates the rights that shall not be construed to deny or disparage other rights retained by students in the capacity of students. Basically meaning your First Amendment rights cannot be taken away from you as your capacity as a KU student senator, or sorry, KU student. And so my biggest change is specifically to what is, your Fourth Amendment rights regarding housing policies, to which you can see it listed there. And right now I can't read it. So basically, it say that they can enter the premises to verify occupancy with health and safety regulations or for scheduled improvement or repair. This is already done. This is just not in the language. So this is an effort to bring the language up to what is currently practiced by KU Housing. This has been verified through Director Sarah Waters of Housing and Residential Life. So this is something that they are doing, and it should be okay. The second is a notice of entry shall be delivered physically or electronically via the student's KU email address. Sarah Waters had actually only included electronically, but I thought in the spirit of maintaining student rights that physically be left in there. It does no harm, but it also no harm, no foul, right? And then the next one is number 5, the provision that policies for housing facilities are included in the housing handbook. It is in reference to the housing handbook being on the website, but there being no mentioned, nothing being mentioned as such into the code. So basically it's saying that anything that's left over, refer to the housing handbook, which they do refer to it. And so this is probably the biggest change. It's just to bring housing standards and what they're doing right now up to code. And so, yeah. And so another change, it was a minor change. It's in the same section, but to point I regarding orderly picketing and other forms of peaceful protest, this is just an expansion to the language to further clarify exactly what you can and can't do when it comes to peaceful protesting. This is actually something in response to the Students for Justice for Palestine. There was a lot of confusion on where they could peacefully protest, and a lot of them were negatively impacted by police being shown onto campus because they just didn't understand what the code was asking of them. And so this is an attempt to further protect students from any wrongfully doing anything as laid out in the code. And so this would just let them know that, hey, students still have a right to be in parking lots and the pathways, to which was reflected when they got moved onto the grasses in front of Fraser. This is Section 4 Senate activity fee. This is regarding our authority to allocate the fee dollars. There is no change here. Section 5, violation of law and university discipline. This is the university ability to initiate proceedings against an offender who may be subject to criminal prosecution. This is an addition. It's a minor change, just to reiterate that students can still plead the fifth in the sense of they do not have to volunteer any information that may incriminate them. And I think that it's not included in there, but it's in the spirit of maintaining those rights that we have as citizens in addition to students. This is Section 5. This is relating to non-academic misconduct, definitions for specific conduct that violates core values of respect, university community, integrity, and responsibility. This is just an enumerated list to which this section received no changes. Section 7, non-academic misconduct procedure, sanction, and limitations. This outlines the procedures if one violates the mentioned before records. It outlines sanctions for students responsible for non-academic misconduct. This is the escalatory path, so it starts off with a warning, can end with removal or expulsion. And it also outlines limitations, so appeals to University J Board, complaints filed in accordance to University Senate rules and regulations, and for example, students are defined as people that are intending to enroll. So it can include having your admission revoked if obtained through false information, lying on your application or something like that. And this has a minor change of there was a spacing error. So that's reflected. And then the last is Section 8, authority. So the Code of Conduct is, it lies within the Office of Vice Provost for Student Affairs to administer this Code of Conduct, and it's entirely subject to approval to the Chancellor. So this is not something that lives outside of KU. This is very much internally within KU, and it's, again, given, it's a right given to us by the Chancellor to actually change KU policy to some extent. And so this is just a recap. So there was no change to the introduction. There was a minor change to the Section 1, no change to Section 2, major change to Section 3, which was regarding housing, no change to 4, minor change to 5, no change to 6, minor change to 7, no change to 8. Any questions?
Hands for questions. Yes, Sam.
Can you really quickly go over the section in the first, I think it was the first change, the one where it says that they can choose either physical or email instead of both.
Questions asked about housing, communication, speaker may answer.
Yes. Did you just need me to speak to it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What was the logic behind that?
Yes. This is not the right slide, I don't think. Sorry, you can't read it. Jeez. I had it somewhere. Yes, but the logic was in the sense of I didn't want KU housing, or sorry, I retract that. I didn't want an electronically, submitted notice to enter premises to be done instantaneously and then followed with, them entering the premises of students. I thought that adding it in there, since it is a more viable way for administration to contact students, is through their KU email address. It was correct in adding it because that's just currently how they do it. But I felt iffy on removing the physically part, and there just wasn't valid justification to remove it, so I just kept it in. That was essentially it. It was honestly a unilateral decision, but based on the a discussion that I had with the subcommittee members, to which I wanted to shout them out. And so I'll actually take the time to do this right now. But I wanted to thank Alexis Dominic, Emma Hardesty, Victoria Hunter, Maddie Atkins, Nick Rossler, Gwen Globin, and Catherine Verana, as well as the, yes, clap it up for them, for their input, to which I felt that the committee would not have liked that. Regardless of what I personally felt, that's why it was it stayed in there. Does that answer your question?
Chair recognizes Rome. Oh, okay. That's it. Chair recognizes Antonique. Okay, chair recognizes Tanya.
Can we move to section 5 before I ask my question? I would like to ask the speaker, given that there is nothing enumerated within the section to remind students without sophisticated legal training or to advise them of their Fifth Amendment rights, but rather their ability to be prosecuted under law, how does this put students on notice of their rights, supposedly in the spirit that the speaker claims exists?
Questions to ask about legal rights. Speaker may answer.
Yes. It does so because my worry is that students would voluntarily offer information that may self-incriminate them to an academic advisor or something like that. The issue is a DA could subpoena that academic advisor to basically spill everything that student just told them. And so this is basically a restatement of what was said in an earlier section regarding student rights not being hindered, people's rights not being hindered by their occupation as a student. And so that was the biggest thing. And it was actually through the advice of our advisors, we've talked about this, to which it would do no harm if anything, it just restates that students have that right. And especially because this section regards violations of the law just in general, and the fact that KU faculty could be subpoenaed to a higher court. I know that we think the J board and whatnot are high courts to us. It's not. It's your federal, state, local court systems that have honestly the biggest impact to you guys as students, because it can also just put you in prison.
Chair recognizes Ivana Dominic.
What was the margin by which this passed in Student Rights and Affairs Council?
Unanimously, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Chair recognizes Ivana Dominic for follow-up.
You also have a question? Okay. I was curious, so other than section 3, were there any other amendments that were made in council other than what you had first presented?
I don't think any amendments were made in council. It passed unanimously without any amendments. So the presented bill, I don't know how to pull it up, but what's presented in front of you was what was presented to council, and they passed it unanimously in full.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Okay, do we have any negative speeches on this bill? Do we have any positive speeches on this bill? Do we have any other motions? Yes, CC Hunter. Okay, there's been a call to previous question from CC Hunter. There's been a second by Aiden Faust. Do we have unanimous consent to close debate on this legislation? If you do not, if you have like a speech you want to give or another type of motion, say it now, or else we're closing debate on this with unanimous consent. Okay. Seeing none, debate is closed and a poll is now posted. You have 90 seconds to vote. Please get your votes out. Thank you very much for your patience in the session, for following, exercising our rights as members.
I just want to say that I'm so sorry for seconding that motion initially. After hearing your argument and really listening to it, I thought that I should not have, and I deserve to be heard. So I wanted to take the time to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Please maintain order in the chamber while we're conducting voting.
Like, he wanted to get out of here. Well, that's not fair. I wanted you wasting my time. We need to have a talk with you simply about. But also, it's because you have, and anything before that is like.
Who is this?
No, you're good. You're good.
That's what I told her.
I just wish it wasn't rushed.
You could.
Order, please. We're still conducting a poll. There will be order in the chamber, please. We are almost done. Hang with me. My poll is closing in 10 seconds. That poll is closed with the result of 35 approved, 2 opposed. This legislation clearly passes. Yes, Sahej. There's been a motion to adjourn from Sahej. There's a second from the Internal Affairs Director. Are there any objections to adjournment? There's an objection to adjournment from CC Hunter. Okay, so adjournment. Okay, I was gonna say adjournment is debatable. So have you withdrawn your? Okay, are there any other objections to adjournment that if we are its objection, we would start debate on adjournment. Seeing none, we are adjourned at 9:52 p.m.
And then defending